We talked about locked up love, right? Women who fall for guys who are convicted, many of whom are convicted on major crimes in death row. Well, we have a special guest with us. She is back with us now. Her name is Sheila Eisenberg. She wrote a book, incredible book. Let's show that book up there, folks. There she is with us right now. You know, Sheila, thank you for joining us. You're back with us. Your book called Women Who Love Men Who Kill. And the first question I was asking before we got cut off there, aren't these women afraid that they might be at risk, that they might be next for these men?
Actually, no, it's quite the opposite. For most of these women, the relationships with a murderer behind bars, serving life, or on death row is not at all threatening. Actually, for these women, it's a relationship where they have control. And, you know, think about it. The man's in prison. He can't get out. He can't possibly hurt them. So why is it threatening? It's not.
Okay, so they have that control sense. He can't get out.
The control thing is really what makes it so appealing, because for many of these women, they had been in earlier abusive situations. So this is actually the first time where they're on top, so to speak. They have, you know, they're in charge. They decide when to make the visit, when to take the phone call. They're the liaison with the lawyer and the outside world, and they have a lot of control.
Okay, is there anything else other than that control aspect that drives women to these men?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. First of all, there is the fact that a man in prison has enormous time on his hands to be romantic, to write letters, to write poetry, to paint pictures, to devote all of his psychic, psychological, and emotional energy on this one person. And it's extraordinarily romantic. I mean, many people fall in love and have, you know, one-on-one intense romance. But when you're in love with a convicted murderer who's in prison, he will always, and because of that, you will also always maintain that stage one intensity, that enormous romance and excitement, because it never wanes, because you're never together, basically. So that's the second thing. You know, another thing is that many of the women I interviewed for Women Who Love Men Who Kill, the majority of them did not actually have sex with the man they were involved with. So there was a certain purity about the relationship, almost like courtly love, where she was worshipped by the knight on the white horse, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So it's you have the control aspect, you have the aspect of the guy's chasing you, he's after you,
Right.
in a way that's romantic. And you also mentioned, as you talked to us earlier, that these women think these relationships are kind of a break from the daily mundane, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there is nothing mundane about a relationship with a prisoner, a lifer. I mean, you never see his dirty laundry. You never are intimate in the way that you are when you're married or living with someone for a long time. It's a very artificial relationship. It's created, the artificiality is created by the parameters of the prison walls, by the fact that you're being watched all the time. And he's always on his best behavior, as are you.
Sheila, you know what, Sheila, though, I hear this and I think, you know, it reminds me of women who might write to Hollywood stars or TV stars or whoever and simply say, oh, I just admire him so much. I have this relationship I've developed. Why not channel it there as opposed to a murderer?
Because think about it. If you write to Brad Pitt, will he answer you?
Good point. Good point.
And if you write to Scott Peterson, will he answer you? Yes. That's why out of all the hundreds and thousands of letters he got, he ultimately chose one. And Joran van der Sloot, who's in prison in, I think, Argentina, right? If you write to him, he will answer you and you can get involved with him and he will pay attention to you. But a Hollywood star, a celebrity, will ignore you, basically. So this is a way, you know, there's two different kinds of relationships with murderers. One I call the garden variety relationship, where the murderer is not a known person. He's quiet. He's just serving life, or he's on death row. His case is not notorious. And the woman who gets involved with him does so for all the reasons I stated earlier: the romance, the control, the fact that it's special. But a woman who gets in love with a notorious killer, like the women who are now following the Boston Marathon bomber,
right?
Or Joran van der Sloot or Scott Peterson, those women are in it for a different reason. They're in it because they, too, want their 15 minutes of fame.
You know what? That so much of it comes down to that. Sheila, we thank you so much. We're out of time, but we really appreciate your input. So interesting to hear about these relationships. And Sheila's book, folks, Women Who Love Men Who Kill, is now available in paperback. It's going to be in ebooks as well starting this August. So interesting to hear about that side of life.